Well, after talking about the historical background of ESP and where ESP comes from, we actually have to deal with the language description part because language description is one of the most important foundations for ESP. And actually, ESP is the result of a paradigm shift in linguistics. As we talked about, linguistics was more about Chomskyan linguistics, the deeper structure and surface structure. So the structural view towards language was dominant. But after that, we see Hallidayan linguistics came to the fore as we talked about systemic functional linguistics, in which the focus was more on meaning and how meaning is manipulated and meaning is controlled by making different choices by the people actually who are interacting with each other. When it comes to English for specific purposes, we need to consider the significance of language description. And we know that research is one of the key concepts in ESP. When it comes to language description, it's part of the research key term in which we focus on different texts, different contexts in which the language is used, and the changes of language across different contexts. And by context here, we mean different disciplines, different fields of study, and different occupational areas. So when we have English for academic purposes or English for occupational purposes, we have different variations, different uses of language, and different words, different technical terms are used. Consider a student of chemistry. Of course, the type of language that is used by the chemistry experts, chemistry scientists, would be totally different from the type of words that are used by people who are expert in philosophy. So the technical dimension can change across different disciplines, across different occupations. And by analyzing and describing the linguistic features, we try to explore the changes, the common features, the differences that exist across different disciplines and different jobs when it comes to the use of language in order to interact with people of that community. So, when experts in the community of, for example, doctors, physicians, want to talk to each other, of course, people would use different technical terms that are related to medicine. But when it comes to a community of English language teachers, the type of words that actually these people use would be different because they are mostly about teaching methodology and teaching approaches and testing methods. So the nature of language is different across different contexts. This is why language description is a very important part of ESP courses, because by analyzing and describing the linguistic features of a particular discipline or a particular occupation, we can help the development actually to develop the materials, the courses, the syllabus for the particular group of students as the target audience of the ESP course. Before we actually move to the theoretical side of English for specific purposes and language description and its role in developing, let's say, courses for specific purposes, we need to distinguish two expressions: English of a particular field of study and English for a particular study. When we say English of physics, English of chemistry, English of psychology, we have a text oriented approach. It means that we are concerned with the technical terminology, we are concerned with the lexicogrammatical features, we are concerned with the discursive practices. It means that our analysis is at the level of text. We just see the text and how the text changes across different disciplines. This is English of, so we focus on the text itself. In this type of approach, we may analyze the text of research articles written by experts in physics, experts in chemistry, experts in English language teaching to identify the lexicogrammatical features and the technical terms that make different majors, different disciplines different. But on the other hand, we have English for physics, English for chemistry, English for philosophy, English for psychology, English for educational, and behavioral studies, English for example, different fields of study. And in this approach, we have a context oriented view. It means that not just the text, but the context in which the language is used. It means that the oral context, the context, we mean the way people of that community interact with each other, talk to each other, send email to each other, would make use of language differently. So when we have English for a particular field of study, it means that we are more concerned with the socio-pragmatic features. In English of approach, we have a lexicogrammatical approach, but in English for a particular group of students, we have a socio-pragmatic approach. It means that the degree of expertise of different people, their academic status, their the textual and non-textual norms that exist. As I said, the way they write the article is as much important as the way they talk to each other, the way they send emails to each other, the way they send messages to each other. So here in English for a particular field of study in which we have a context-oriented approach, we try to explore all the similarities and differences that exist across different fields of study, whether it happens at the textual level or at non-textual level. For example, the way you talk to your instructors, the way you send email to your instructors, the way you talk to your students, the way you talk to your colleagues, all these can be part of the second approach, English for a particular field of study, because the elements of interaction are part of the context. And in the second approach, we have a more complete approach, we have a more advanced approach toward analyzing the way language is used. And we can say, based on the first approach, we can just describe how different majors, how different fields of study differ in terms of the textual features that are used by the experts in that field of study. But based on the second approach, we can explore all the norms that exist in that community. These norms might be textual, these norms might be related to the discourse, these norms might be related to the social interactions between and among different people in that discourse community. And based on the second approach, we may have more pedagogical recommendations for the real life classes. Based on the first approach, we can just provide a descriptive account of how language is used, but based on the second approach, we can actually provide advice to the people who are novice members of a discourse community, those students who just entered the MA courses, those students who just entered the BA courses, those students who just start the PhD courses, in order to get familiar with the conventions, with the norms, so that they become actually a successful member of that academic community. So these two approaches are considered as the basic approaches for language description. But generally speaking, we have three major approaches when it comes to language description in ESV: frequency studies, rhetorical approach, and genre analysis. So let's see what each of these approaches actually means. The very first approach is called frequency studies. You know, frequency means the number of something. So the frequency of, for example, nouns in a sentence, the frequency of verbs in a paragraph, the frequency of adjectives, for example. Okay? So when we say frequency studies, we refer to the very early approach to language description in ESP. It means that frequency studies are more related to the first approach that we said here, English of a particular field of study. So frequency studies provide us with a descriptive account. It means that they describe the way language is used in each community. So they give us a quantitative report. For example, experts in chemistry use passive voice verbs more than active voice verbs when they write a lab report. This is a quantitative report. We may say students, PhD students of psychology, when they write academic articles, they tend to actually write longer paragraphs compared to the students who are PhD students of physics and write academic articles. So you may come to this conclusion that according to this analysis, we can say the students in fields like psychology, which is actually related to humanities, might write longer paragraphs compared to those students who study basic sciences like physics. Okay, so when we say quantitative report, we mean this. So if a student in actually an MA course on physics wants to write an article, he or she should be careful about the use of short paragraphs because this is the norm. This is the textual norm. So in frequency studies, we try to explore the features. What features? Lexicogrammatical features, linguistic features of various registers. What is register here? Register refers to different contexts in which language is used. By register here, we mean that major, that discipline, that field of study. If my discipline, if my field of study is chemistry, I am a student of chemistry and I'm learning English in order to be able to give a lecture in an international conference, I need to analyze the text, the presentation of various presenters in different conferences to see what language term actually features, what lexicogrammatical features, what kind of verbs, what kind of nouns, what kind of technical terms people use in order to have a successful conference presentation. So my point is that in frequency studies, we are concerned with the number of times that linguistic features, lexicogrammatical features are used. So if I ask you to explain frequency studies, you need to tell me it provides us with a descriptive account and quantitative report and provides us with a description of the lexicogrammatical features of various registers, and registers here are different fields of study or different occupations. So frequency studies are considered as the early studies in which language was considered as the major element in order to be explored, in order to be investigated, in order to be analyzed, so that people in that discourse community get familiar with the linguistic features and try to be similar to those people who are established members of that community. Up to now, we have just numbers, okay? So frequency studies provide us with numbers. What about the second approach? They said, okay, we may actually have the numbers, but numbers have meanings. So we need to draw conclusion based on the numbers. Just numbers do not suffice. So this brought us to the second approach, which is a more advanced one, which is called rhetorical approach. Rhetorical approach means that no longer we are concerned with the words, with the lexicogrammatical features. We are concerned with longer stretches of text. What does it mean? For example, with a paragraph, with an essay, to see how the sentences get connected to form a paragraph. So we have discourse analysis here. What is discourse? Longest stretch of text. So here we try to, explore the recurring patterns, to identify the linguistic patterns that happen again and again. When we say recurring patterns, we mean those models of language which are used frequently, which are used again and again by the experts, so that they are given to the students and they imitate those patterns, those templates, to write successful, for example, articles, to write an email successfully, to send a message successfully. So rhetorical approach is at more advanced level. Rhetorical approach tries to provide us with a better understanding of how the sentences get connected and join and formulate a paragraph. So in rhetorical approach, we are concerned with the cohesion and coherence. By cohesion, we mean the use of connective words, for example, and, but, however, in addition, furthermore, moreover. So when we use these words, we try to connect the ideas. We try to connect the sentences so that they have a meaning. So in rhetorical approach, we are more concerned with the meaning compared to the frequency studies. Here we want to see how these verbs, how these nouns, how these sentences get connected and form a paragraph, and how these paragraphs are made by the authors, by the experts, so that they convey a message, which is an academic finding, for example, which is a lab report. So in rhetorical approach, we have a more meaning-based approach. We are more concerned with the context, so we are moving toward the second approach, which was English for a particular discipline. But still, it cannot give us pedagogical recommendation. This is why we need the third approach. The third approach in language description, which is the most advanced actually level of language description in ESP, which is the most practical one, is called genre analysis. You know, genre is a term that comes from literature. In literature, genre refers to different text types. Also in art, in cinema, it refers to different types of movies. For example, you may have romance, you may have tragedy, you may have thriller, you may have horror movies. So, genre refers to different text types. When it comes to ESP, it provides us with a description of how different sections of a text get connected. So you see, we are moving toward a more advanced level. First, in frequency studies, we are concerned with the words, with the lexicogrammatical features. Then in rhetorical approach, we are concerned with the sentences and how sentences get connected to make a paragraph. Now, in genre analysis, we are concerned with the way different paragraphs get connected and form a text, a longer stretch of text. So here we are concerned with the way different sections actually join, different sections form a bigger, larger actually stretch of language. So in genre analysis, we have pedagogical recommendation. By pedagogical recommendation, we mean based on the results of analyzing different texts, the advice is given to the students to write an article like this. Put the purpose first and then talk about the method. Put the findings first and then discuss your finding. Put the procedure of the experiment first and then talk about the conclusions that you draw. So the way we put different pieces of information in order in different texts across different fields of study is called genre analysis. So genre analysis is very important. This is why we will talk about genre analysis in the following sessions, because I need to explain what genre is and how we analyze different genre. And we focus on this more because, as I said, genre analysis is the most advanced approach in language description and provides us with the most pedagogically practical recommendation. So in genre analysis, we have a prescriptive account. If you remember, in frequency studies, we said we have a descriptive account. But in genre analysis, we have a prescriptive account. What does it mean? It means that it provides us with a description, and based on the description, we give advice to the students on how to use different elements, how to put different pieces of information in order to make it well organized, to make it well written. For example, when a student wants to write an article, we tell that student, okay, first put the introduction, then talk about the existing literature, then talk about the method, then talk about the results, and then provide the conclusion. Finally, put the references. So this is prescriptive account. It means that based on the findings, based on the analysis, we provide the students with recommendations on how to use those pieces of information. So we are concerned with appropriacy here. It means that the norms of interaction become important. So in genre analysis, we have exactly what we said, at first as English for a particular field of study. So it tries to address both textual features of language and non-textual features. It means the way experts interact with each other orally, through email, even the body gestures that are used in a community can be part of genre analysis. The way taxi drivers talk to each other is totally different from the way a group of scientists talk to each other. We don't say better, or we don't talk about the status of these groups. We say different communities are different, dependent on the features of that community, depending on the norms and conventions of that community. So just to have a review, if I ask you to provide me with the 3 major approaches in language description in ESP, you need to tell me frequency studies, rhetorical approach, and genre analysis. If I ask you to briefly explain these, so you need to tell me about the frequency studies that provide us with a descriptive account, which is a quantitative report of lexicogrammatical features of various registers, and registers mean different fields or occupations. Rhetorical approach tries to explore the recurring patterns of discourse in order to see how different sentences get connected to formulate a paragraph. And genre analysis is the most advanced form of language description in ESP, which provides us with a prescriptive account. That means, based on the results of genre analysis, we can have pedagogical recommendations for different people in order to use them, in order to have a well-established and well-organized, language products. So, to make it short and to summarize what I said, we have 3 approaches: frequency studies, rhetorical approach, and genre analysis. In frequency studies, we have a quantitative account of the lexicogrammatical features, which is just a descriptive approach. But when it comes to genre analysis, it becomes prescriptive approach. It means that we have pedagogical recommendations or advice. And in rhetorical approach, we talk about the choices and the reasons for those choices and the patterns or the models or templates that can be helpful to different students. So we can say, generally speaking, in ESP, we moved from the formal level of analysis to the institutionalized level. It means that before 1970s, mostly the focus was on the structural elements, and little by little it moved toward the cohesion and coherence and the discourse of different contexts. The context can be a classroom, the context can be the office, the context can be the workplace, the content can be a court. So wherever the language is used and the use of language becomes technical, we can analyze it at the institutionalized level. We can say previously we had general English because the general features of language were considered as important when we had conversation analysis for everyday language use and analyzing the features of language in everyday language use. But it became more specific because nowadays there are more text types. For example, job applications. We have sales letters. We have conference presentations. We have, different types of text like articles, book reviews, book chapters. So the language became more and more specific. So nowadays we analyze language at more specific levels. Previously, it was theoretical. It means that we had just a theoretical view of how language is used across different contexts, the deeper structure and surface structure in Chomsky linguistics, or the frequency studies, but little by little it became applied. Like genre analysis, which is used nowadays, the focus on meaning and the way language can be used across different fields of study. So previously we had a superficial analysis in which the structure was important, but nowadays we have a deeper analysis of the language features which lead to different meaning types, different text types. So nowadays we have a more critical perspective toward the use of language and technical use of language across different contexts. And we have a deeper understanding, a thicker analysis, a much better understanding of how language is manipulated and used by different experts of different levels of expertise in different discourse communities. So these are the four major scales of analysis. And these are just for understanding how language analysis actually has changed throughout the history to reach this level. So for the ESP courses, we have the institutionalized level of analysis, we have the specific discourse analysis, we have the applied reasons, and we have the deep level. This is what makes ESP a distinguished area of knowledge. Actually, previously in ELT, we had the formal analysis, we had the general English analysis, the theoretical analysis of language, and the superficial analysis of the language. But when it came to ESP, because of the efficiency and accountability key terms that we talked about last session, because people wanted to find shortcuts to success in their occupations, in their academic communities, so we need to be more specific. So we need to identify different contexts and the way language is used across different institutions, the way technical terms and technical patterns exist in those contexts, and the way those findings, those actual analysis can turn into, some books that are instructional for the students, some guidelines for the students in order to use language well, in order to succeed in their discourse communities. In the following sessions, we will talk about genre analysis and how genre analysis contributed to ESP and how genre analysis can help us write things much better across different academic contexts.